Hi, everyone. I'm Frank Mallicoat. I'm a reporter anchor for KTVU Fox 2 here in the San Francisco Bay Area. My guest is the author of a study with the U.S. Drug Test Center on the economics of legalized marijuana and its usage, how it's been affected since it's been legalized. Let's say hi to Dr. Jonathan Baktari, the CEO of U.S. Drug Test Center. Hello there. How are you, sir?
Oh, pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you as well. So, 17 states have now legalized marijuana. I know the revenues are in the billions, but has it had a big effect in terms of bringing in tax revenue to states?
For certain states it has, like California in 2020 had $1 billion. But in other states it's, marginal. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that it's the ground floor and it's going to grow, but for certain states like Colorado, it actually accounted for 2.7% of the revenue for their state revenues, but it was only 387,000. So it really is a mixed bag. The outliers are making a lot of tax revenue. The other ones are probably going to grow in the years to come.
Do you think a lot of folks thought, oh my God, this is the second coming of prohibition? It's going to just bring in billions of dollars.
Right.
We're going to be saved. We can start doing all these projects, but that
Yeah.
just hasn't been the case.
Yeah, I don't think, I think the lotto was this other big example over the last 30, 40 years that's, states use it as to buffer their state budgets. But, marijuana sales and the taxes from that, it's growing. It's a mixed bag, but it's not the panacea. It's not like you said, the prohibition rush where all of a sudden, things explode.
Well, let's talk about California a little bit because it's more than half or just about half of the tax revenue. I know we've got a much bigger population, but over $1 billion in tax revenue in 2020.
That's
Uh,
amazing. Wow.
that's substantial, don't you think?
Yes, it's substantial, and my sense of it is that it's going to continue to grow. It is very substantial. I think obviously California is a bigger state and it has, a much bigger population. Yeah, I think it's going to continue to grow, grow, grow. Just keep seeing the proliferation of more and more producers, more and more, dispensaries. So it's going to definitely grow.
Where does the money go?
Yeah, the money is a mixed bag. I mean, in for most people, for most states, they indirectly either put it into the general fund or a mixture of the general fund and education or specific things like education. So, but for most of them, it's a mixed bag of general funds and targeted issues or things they want to work on.
And it's different from state to state, I would
It's
imagine, right?
different. Yeah, every state does it differently in terms of how they allocate the funds, with a lot of them going to general funds. But yes, it's a mixed bag.
You mentioned the numbers are likely to grow. Do you think there are other states right now, 17? New York just jumped in recently
Mhm.
legalizing recreational marijuana. You think they're going to look at this and think, "Hey, we want a piece of that," or might there be some trepidation because it hasn't been quite the cash cow a lot of people thought?
Yeah, I mean, if people look at the numbers, I think if it's an economic thing, maybe the economic case is not as good as people had hoped for. I still think there's a lot of political pressure to legalize it for non-financial reasons. So I'm not sure that's going to go away. But if you just looked at the finances outside of California, for most states, it's some revenue, but it's not going to be anything that addresses massive shortages in budgets. So I think there'll be other motives, and even the federal government. There's a lot of push in Congress to try to legalize it from a federal level. That's going to be a heavy lift, but that's certainly being proposed, especially with the new administration, with the Democrats controlling, the House and Senate and the White House. That definitely has more legs now.
I know your study also talked about usage and whether it increased usage among adults and younger people.
Mhm.
Was that the case? It's been legal, what, almost 10 years now in Colorado and California since 2016.
Yeah, yeah, definitely in adults we see a lot more usage. Like for example, in Nevada, it really skyrocketed. But what we see also that when it comes to usage among youth, it's a mixed bag. I mean, for most of the states, the youth usage stayed roughly even, give or take. But yes, in many states that legalized it, there was an increase in usage.
Were you surprised that with younger adults and younger kids that it
Hmm.
really was flatlined for the most part?
Yeah, I don't know. Someone, if you're cynical, you might make the argument that if it's legal, it might lose some of its cachet with younger folks. That's just sheer speculation, but yeah, and I guess younger folks would not have potentially access to the dispensaries like adults would, so like teenagers and what have you. So in that sense, that also makes sense.
Talk about the study. How did you find out the usage information?
Yeah, all our entire study was looking at, published data, you know, uh, that's already out there, whether it's published by, the different states or different health organizations. So we just collated the data. We used the substance and abuse and health services data. So the data, just it's just a matter of collating it and putting it all together.
You did mention this that adults usage was up across the board, but I thought the number was pretty impressive. Since
Mhm.
2015, it's up 119%. So more adults are using pot.
Right. Again, unlike the youth, they certainly have access to the dispensaries, and I think we're seeing, from all the data that the acceptance of pot, and the percentage of people that think pot is dangerous or should be illegal, is dropping to an all-time low. So I think that acceptance that it's almost a variation of alcohol use, that is growing, and so I think that's in line with more adult usage.
And do you see this as kind of a slow burn? A lot of people shied away from pot, obviously, because it wasn't legal,
Right.
back room, underground, that kind of thing. Is it going to take a generation before people look at pot like alcohol or cigarettes?
Yeah, certainly some of the stigma has been removed. So I think maybe before some of this legalization, people who might have used it or wanted to use it would not want to be associated with the stigma. But I think some of that is being removed. Uh, but there's still plenty of downside. I know at U.S. drug test centers we do drug testing for companies, and from a workforce point of view, there's still some considerations, in terms of marijuana use. So, and all drug use in terms of how it impacts the workplace. So I think that still has to be ironed out, and companies and us as a society have to kind of weigh the benefits, and the cons of you know more and more marijuana drug use.
Did your study just look at recreational pot users or was it medicinal as well?
No, it was mainly the recreational use. The medicinal use, was probably, when you look at the taxes and stuff, was probably included, but yeah, it was mainly the recreational.
And what do you think lies ahead? I know you touched on it a little bit. It's been
Hmm.
nearly 10 years since Colorado
Yeah.
took that giant leap, and I think all mankind thought, "Oh my God, we're not going to make it through it." And now, what? 16 more states have jumped in, and likely more to come.
Yeah, I think we really, it took a long time, for us to understand some of the downsides of things. Like, for example, even the tobacco industry took a long time to fully understand, what are the downsides. So I think as more states legalize it and as more people potentially use it and as more studies come out, we're going to see, also, yeah, some of the downside of more usage. If there are, medical and mental health downsides, to further marijuana use. Those studies really need to come out. We need to look at them.
And if people want to get in touch with you or find out more about the study with the U.S. Drug Test Center, how do they do it?
Yeah, they can go to our website, usdrugtestcenters.com. It's right on our website. And of course, we're on LinkedIn, we're on all the major social media. So just go to US Drug Test Centers and you'll be able to look at the details.
Well, it's fascinating stuff, and just the tip as we venture into our new world here. That's Dr. Jonathan Baktari, the CEO of U.S. Drug Test Center, and the very latest on his study. Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us.
A pleasure. Be well. Thank you.
All right. I'm Frank Mallicoat. If you'd like more information as well, you can go to newsnowfox.com as well. Have a good day, everybody.